Welcome back to another episode of Speak Now Pro Wrestling. It is Friday, December 6th. I'm Denise Salcedo, and as always, I am joined by Robin Lundberg. Robin, welcome back. How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm feeling a little nostalgic with the Saturday night main event send-off to SmackDown and the Saturday night callbacks. Denise, I am going to have to break something to you. I'm old. Officially, I can say that now. I watched Saturday night's main event, like when it happened the first time. So the callbacks to Jimmy Hart and Jesse Ventura, like when I saw the Jesse Ventura thing today, I legitimately got pumped because I remember when the broadcast team for WWF was Vince McMahon and Jesse the Body Ventura.
Well, don't feel bad. There's a couple of people in our chat that feel you, all right, Robin? You know, it doesn't mean you're old, okay? You're just wise, and you can bring up those good memories, make the connections for Saturday night's main event. It's gonna be a good time. Obviously, that is taking place on the 14th, so we're still about a week or so away. But today's show is essentially the fallout from Survivor Series, and there was quite a bit that we got to get into. And I want to start things off with the big thing, which is a transfer window. So a lot of people had been wondering whether or not WWE was going to do some sort of a draft before Raw on Netflix, because as we all know, it's a pretty freaking big deal, right? And you're going to want to have to spice up the programming a little bit. And that means changing things around, some fresh new faces, some fresh new feuds, some fresh new matchups. Well, you do that when you shuffle people around. And for the most part, Robin, it had kind of been crickets on that end. Like we hadn't really heard of anything really happening with that. And then today in the opening segment, before we get to Chad Gable, before we get to Cody Rhodes, when Chad Gable came out, I'm like, wait, what is a Raw act doing here on SmackDown? Like, this feels really random. And Chad Gable essentially said that a transfer window had opened up. And I'm like, what the hell is he talking about, a transfer window? But then Michael Cole basically said that Raw, SmackDown, and NXT GMs got together to basically make some sort of a decision in terms of shuffling wrestlers about in a transfer window. Now, we don't really have any other details besides that, but what did you think of this and what was your reaction?
Well, look, I mean, I think anytime you get movement and stuff like that, it sets you up for surprise, and it's not surprising. My only worry, I mean, obviously you and I do a SmackDown reaction show. I don't want all the you're good, you got Raw too, but I don't want the SmackDown talent to all get put over on Raw, because you have to think about the business implications of this, and it was inevitable that some of the SmackDown talent would either be appearing on Raw or moving over to Raw, because that is such a huge acquisition for WWE via the Netflix money. And there's no way Netflix is doling out all that money without getting Cody or Roman or Punk, Rhea, except that the big dogs, the heavy hitters. So how do you do that with the existing brands? You have to concoct something. Transfer window, it's like, you know, I do a lot of sports. I've done a lot of sports over my whole career. It's something that's really popped up in college sports as of late, where you do see players transfer from one school to another quite often, especially in the Wild West that's become of amateur athletics, if you will, especially with NIL deals and everything that's going around. So they're sort of playing off that idea, and it will allow for chaos. I wonder if they keep some sort of, not obviously a forbidden door, because this would be a permission door, but a permission door open during this process, so that they can make it a little bit more fluid than normal if they do make, because how do you sell it if you're Nick Aldis as the GM and Raw's going to get Roman Reigns and you're going to get Chad Gable? You know, like that's not exactly going to work out from a logic and believability standpoint for the viewer. So to me, that's going to be the most fascinating thing, is how exactly they juggle it and move the talent around to keep all of the products strong.
Yeah, because again, I feel like we got to have some rules in place, right? Because how exactly does this transfer window work? So in sports, how does it work, and what do you think would be the best way to sort of execute that over on SmackDown, where like we know, okay, this makes sense, where we understand, hey, this person's going to be on Raw, this person's going to be on SmackDown, this person got called up, but also, like, I guess, what are the limits of that, right? Like, how many people, who do we decide are the champions moving? And is it for like a certain amount of time period? Like, what are we thinking? What do you think could probably be the best way for WWE to sort of execute that transfer window?
Yeah, I see. My worry is that there's not really necessarily a great, well thought out plan. It was just like, oh crap, we got to do something here. This is coming up in a month, right? And to me, I mean, it should be one for one or some sort of. It should basically be trades, is the way I would look at it.
So, for example, what you're saying in a trade would be like, okay, hey, I have Braun Breaker. Will you give me, I don't know, Roman Reigns or something,
Yeah.
right? Of course, nothing like that. You'd have to give a little bit more, but that's what you're thinking?
Well, no, I don't think that, because the word trade and transfer are not the same, right? So I guess I'm hoping this leaves the door open for a little bit more fluidity. So when they say transfer window, I don't know how long a period of time that is. Is that okay? Now I think I might get it. All right. So basically, now that I'm thinking about it and we're talking about it and I've just spouted all that stuff, the way I might do it is this transfer window goes beyond the first Netflix and Raw on Netflix to whatever the predetermined date is in the future. Let's say the end of February or Royal Rumble. So that way, in the first few weeks of the launch of Raw, you can sort of move the talent around a little bit and cut the side deals between the GMs so that the big dogs can be on Raw, but also be on SmackDown and vice versa for a while before things really, sort of solidify and the dust settles a bit. And maybe that's where they're saying using the word transfer specifically, because that means if it's transferring, you're going from one to the other, not this one is leaving this in exchange for this.
Right. Okay. So then that makes, I think we kind of saw a sample of that because, okay, Lash Legend, for example, and her and Jakara Jackson, they are NXT talents. However, we have been seeing them used on SmackDown. So then that would be sort of an example, right, of a transfer.
Yeah. And then they could be back, somebody else from SmackDown could go to NXT for a bit as part of that. I think it only makes sense for the GMs to have side deals as part of this. Like, what is in it for them? Why would they allow their talent to go on the other brand if they're not getting something in return? So you have to turn that into a storyline and accentuate those characters, I think, a bit. But I think it's almost purposely ambiguous a little so that they can get away with doing whatever the hell they want.
That's what I was going to say. Like, this is basically saying, like, we're kind of undoing the brand split, but not for everybody. Like, the brand split is still a thing, but we're kind of, undoing it in some parts. That's what it feels like. And it also feels like the best way to have your cake and eat it too. And by that, I mean, like you mentioned, your top people, which is Cody Rhodes, Roman Reigns, Rhea Ripley, or CM Punks, people like that. I think this is their way of saying, like, okay, we want to make sure that they're on Netflix because that's going to be the big priority in terms of like really packing that up and making it star powered. But also, we don't want to leave SmackDown high and dry because we still got to please our partners over there. So we want to make sure we still do that. So it does feel like this is their way of sort of having their cake and eating it too. And then, because in an official draft, that would mean like we're not going to see this person on this show. So with them using the colorful term transfer, it makes it just a little bit more flexible from the sounds of it.
And that's what I've said to me, and I would have just gotten rid of the brand split with the Netflix deal personally. Like, you can tell the story from one show to it's still the same company's product. So I understand why it existed and has existed for a long time. And it allows, each show to have its own identity and personality and for certain people to get more of a spotlight and develop. But, sometimes circumstances change things. And to me, the Netflix is the big circumstance that changed things. And just like you said, you can't leave SmackDown high and dry, not only to your broadcast partners, but to your audience. And you don't want it to become one of these shows that, people forget about. And then it's just like an afterthought. Or a clear B show or something to that effect. And the best way to do that is to storytell between one show to the next and allow the talent to appear from one show to the next. It's not like it didn't happen before anyway. It's not like a Raw superstar showing up on SmackDown is an unprecedented event. So, it sounds to me like they're kind of just loosening up the rules. I was previously in favor of just saying, new era, we're moving on, brand split's gone. this is their way of trying to, I think, uphold the integrity of the brand split and the tradition of the brand split, but really saying Splitsville to the brand split.
I think like part of me, honestly, I don't hate the brand split. I think it's the fact I don't hate it is because I've gotten used to it. I like knowing that I follow certain storylines on certain shows. I know that if I tune into Raw, I'm going to find out what's going on with Rhea and Liv. I know that if I tune into SmackDown, I'm going to find out what the hell is going on next with the bloodline. I've gotten used to that to the point where I'm like, that's exactly kind of, I don't want them to necessarily undo that because, like you said, I'm afraid of one show becoming a B show. And I'm also sort of afraid of having one storyline feel like we need to have it on both shows. And so then that takes up more time instead of giving some other acts an opportunity to like flourish and have storytelling and all of that on the show. So again, I think I've kind of gotten accustomed to their brand split. Like I don't hate it and like I don't mind it. I do like the idea though of having certain top people go from brand to brand or at least sort of go back and forth, but not so much so where it feels like, because here's the thing, this is what I don't want to happen, because not everybody tunes in to Raw and SmackDown, right? Like some people just watch SmackDown, some people watch Raw. Of course, there's those people that watch everything. But what I would hate is if I was only a Raw or SmackDown viewer, and then all of a sudden it was like, damn, I didn't tune into Raw, so now I missed out on this big piece of the storyline that I've been loving because I didn't tune into Raw, so I missed it or whatever. And I guess that's, oh my gosh, I'm just that person that I guess likes the brand split now. What can I say?
Well, no, look, I mean, I think you can argue it either way. I mean, your argument is essentially that each show has its own identity, right? Like that's more or less your argument in a nutshell. My counter to that would be, you just said there are some people who might just watch Raw and there are some people that might just watch SmackDown. Well, you may increase the chances that the people who just watch Raw are also watching SmackDown and vice versa if their favorites are cross-pollinated across the two brands.
Man, all right, well, let's go ahead and see what people are saying in these super chats and see what everyone feels about all of this. And also, before we get into the super chats, I do want to go ahead and wish Andrea Price a very, very happy birthday, Andrea. Thank you so much for hopping into this channel, coming on here, especially on your birthday. And I also hope that you have a very awesome celebration and may all your birthday dreams come true. So thank you so much, Andrea, and have the very best birthday celebration. Get that weekend going, girl. All right, we got Ebony Prince here who says, enjoyed the show. Congrats on the DWO logo. Well, really quickly, since Ebony Prince got me here, heads up, everybody. For the first time ever, the DWO t-shirt is now available on Pro Wrestling Tees. That is right, ProWrestlingTees.com. Head on over there, check out Denise. Just type in Denise Salcedo on the search bar, and the new Denise World Order t-shirt will be there. So if you guys want to check it out, purchase it, you guys are more than welcome to. Thank you so much for allowing me the opportunity to promote that. And then also to everybody who sort of, just gave me the idea. We got Kevin Zwicker here who says, is it me or did Kevin Owens confirm him versus Sammy for WrestleMania 41? Is it because he was talking about how mad he is at all his friends and all of that going down? Did you get this at all, Robin?
No, I'm missing it. Kevin, to fill me in, man. You got, what's the context for that? Because you got both of us stumped and we're the experts.
I know, we're supposed to be the experts, right? All I know is that I am now team Kevin Owens, by the way, which we'll get into in just a second. But we got Bailey Darley here who says, I'm happy that DIY are heels. I am too. I feel like this is going to give them something new. It's going to give them a purpose for us to sort of care about them. So let's get into this now, actually, Robin. So we had, and this is honestly, I feel like I saw this coming, and I feel like maybe a lot of people might have seen this coming because we ended up having the Motor City Machine Guns defend their titles. They were supposed to have this match for the tag team titles against the Street Profits, but the Street Profits were attacked ahead of time. The second that we saw that they were attacked, if you guys recall, last week, Tommaso Ciampa basically told Johnny Gargano, like, you got to figure this out. You either on my side or no, you either figure this out or we're going to do things my way. And I remembered that. I'm like, oh, It was totally DIY who went and set up this attack. And then afterwards, Johnny Gargano basically being like, oh, hey, we're available for this tag team match. And of course, Motor City Machine Guns aren't going to deny the challenge. So they took it. And in this, they almost made it seem like Ciampa and Gargano weren't on the same page, like they were going to break up, but they busted Kofi Kingston. They busted a Kofi Kingston, Xavier Woods moment where they decided to turn heel together instead of having the actual breakup. So they are now once again tag team champions. Robin, how did you feel about this?
Yeah, look, I think we've sort of touched on it for a while that it's nice to see them have something other than we're wrestler guys. Like it kind of felt like here come the wrestler guys to have a match, and now at least there's a little friction. There was, and now there's a plot twist. So it makes sense. I don't think it's groundbreaking or earth shattering or to anything to that extent, but it does provide them with a little character. And it does get a little heat maybe going in the tag division for perhaps a series of matches coming up.
Yeah, I think so too. And it's like, I think this is the best thing that they could have done with DIY. Again, like you said, that friction now that is going on with them, that's just going to make it so much better. You have a reason to care about DIY. And I also kind of felt like Motor City Machine Guns, and I had said this quite a few times, but I almost felt like they hadn't found their identity in WWE. Like they were also sort of presented as like wrestler guys that you respect, and you respect everything that they've done, but they were coming across as just wrestler guys on WWE. So it almost felt like, I don't know, I felt like there was a group of people that were really into them as tag team champions, but then it kind of felt like the majority were just kind of like, all right, this is what we're getting, so we're cool with it, but not necessarily losing their minds over it. At least it felt like that the first week, but it didn't feel like it didn't feel like that momentum sort of continued. Like the buzz wasn't there the following weeks. And I feel that they felt this too, and they had to make that change and just pull the plug and say, hey, we're going to go back to DIY, but a better, more enhanced version of DIY. Because yeah, DIY, like you said, also just the wrestler guys, and there was nothing there. But at least now there's a reason to care about them, a reason to look at them a little differently.
Well, and that's WWE, right? Like you can't just be a wrestler guy in WWE. In the indies, sure. Maybe AEW to a certain extent, because that's sort of what they've leaned into and what their branding is, real sports kind of deal. But in WWE, it's always been about character on top of that, and then the wrestling is saved for the marquee shows, for the real displays of that. So no one is ever going to cut through without some charisma, without some personality, without some character development, some storyline, some reason to care, some antagonist to the protagonist, all those things. That is the WWE way.
No, it really is, though. And we've kind of said this before, like, in order to become, like, the WWE superstar, like, you got to check off a bunch of freaking boxes, man. The stars got to align. Just so much shit has to happen for it to, like, really skyrocket for you. But thank you so much to Bailey Darley. We got David Primero, who says, Meechin versus Chelsea for the finals. Make it happen. We also have Brandon Rosen, who says Chelsea versus Tiffany needs to happen. So I'm seeing a lot of Chelsea, but who she's going to be on the opposite side with, that's the question. We got Bailey Darley here, who says 2025 is going to be great. Yes, it is. And if you're wondering why that is, I did do a video titled 10 exciting things that are happening in pro wrestling in 2025. That video is up right now on the channel if you guys want to check it out. It's a fun one. Just kind of broke down things that we have as fans to look forward to. Thank you so much, Bailey. We got Sheldon Jackson here, who says, something tells me Cody and Gunther are about to switch shows, but now I wonder, will the women and tag titles switch shows as well as for branding purposes? So I guess, like, dude, there's so many question marks around this transfer window and what it actually means, because I do think a lot of people understood that more in terms of, like, trades.
Yeah, and to me that would be there's a words matter, right? And there's a big difference between the word trade and the word transfer. Transfer is going from one to, I reference college. So let's say a transfer, player A is a member of Notre Dame University and decides they want to go play for USC. So player A leaves Notre Dame to go to USC. In the pros, it would be a trade. Like in free agency, you can just leave, but you would trade one player for another. In this instance, they didn't use the word trade. That has to be done with a purpose. So I think that calls back to the discussion at the beginning of the show. Also, calling back quickly, I think, to what Kevin Zwicker had chatted in. There was a moment, now that I think about it, where Kevin Owens, I think, was asked about Sami Zayn and his recent actions and said, we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. So that
Oh, yeah.
proverbial
Okay,
bridge
thank you for
being
reminding me
referenced.
about that. See, I like it. Kevin Zwicker, everybody paying attention here. So in regards to Cody Rhodes and Kevin Owens, let's talk about that because there was quite a bit here today. So really the big thing that happened on the Cody side of things was we saw Cody versus Chad Gable. And again, that started the whole conversation about the transfer window and all of that. But basically we had this back and forth promo with Chad Gable and Cody Rhodes, kind of Chad Gable was telling Cody, like, you are a terrible person. You are a terrible friend. You're superficial, all of these things, right? And Cody Rhodes brought up that he used to be Shorty G. He used to be Stardust. So they kind of see eye to eye on that level. But this all led to a matchup that happened at the end of the show, which was our main event. A pretty nice little matchup. Cody Rhodes gets his victory, of course. But afterwards, Kevin Owens comes out and attacks him, and they start this brawl. However, in between that, we had this very cool segment, which I liked the way that we kind of broke the mold here. In that Kevin Owens, you know how he's been doing all of his interviews and stuff from the car.
Yeah.
He basically told Michael Cole, like, come out here and do this interview, right? And it was funny because Michael Cole was like, I don't want to go out there. It's cold. I started thinking, like, damn, bro, give me a minute and I'll drive over there and get myself a Kevin Owens interview. I mean, I can't drive over there, but you know. So regardless, he goes out there, he does this interview with Kevin Owens, and I gotta tell you, Robin, I at first I was kind of like, all right, when this whole feud started, I was thinking, I understand Cody's side, I understand Kevin Owens' side, but you know what though? Kevin Owens has won me over. I am now team Kevin Owens here because when he was going, I think last week was he started to get me to jump on his ship, because when he played that whole video showing all his receipts about how all of the things that Roman Reigns did to him and how Cody Rhodes still stood by his side, even though he's friends with Kevin Owens. And then this week, I almost felt like Michael Cole was sort of gaslighting Kevin Owens and basically making him seem like this is all his fault. And I thought, you know what? No, it isn't all his fault. And on commentary, they mentioned one of my favorite quotes, which is, a friend to all is a friend to none. And I love it because Taylor Swift uses it in one of her songs, so it stuck with me forever. But we were listening to that in commentary, and I thought, like, okay, even though he's saying that, hey, Kevin Owens is super petty and this and that, I really, really kind of like that Kevin Owens has been making some great points, and he has been making great points. But today in particular, him snapping at Michael Cole trying to gaslight him, that's it, guys. I'm team Kevin Owens.
He does, he makes unhinged likable. He's got a good, manic unhinged, and he's just a likable dude in general. But, it's sort of Drew McIntyre-esque, but the Kevin Owens version of it, where in order for it to work, you have to feel like he feels he is justified. Whether you feel he is justified or not, you must feel that he feels he is justified, or else, he's just completely nuts. And I think that is what they're going for here with KO. And I liked it. I like the whole, like, you're Cody Rhodes' number one fanboy, or, you guys are kicking me out of the arena. I'm going to do it for you. Right.
The golden boy. I love when he calls him the golden boy.
Sit here in the car. So, I mean, I think that echoes the sentiment that a lot of people might have too. So, the character is working for Kevin Owens. It's building up nicely to this confrontation in this match that they're going to have. What I am most intrigued, though, is what happens after Saturday night's main event. Like, I'm assuming Cody Rhodes wins that. I'm assuming.
I feel like it's gotta, only because the title's on the line, and I'm not expecting Cody Rhodes to lose, but I don't know. Like, you're right. Something does have to happen, because Kevin Owens, even though he's going to lose in the sense of he's going to lose the match and he's not going to win the title, I have a feeling he's going to win, but like in a different way.
Yeah, well, because otherwise you're kind of squashing him. Like, you're doing all this for no reason, right? And that, I think, would be short-sighted, given the character that you built with Kevin Owens and how effective he's been. Now, he's always kind of been that utility player for them. The jack of all trades, master of none, in a sense, where, we could throw him in any match and in between, and he's a believable build-up guy, but we're never actually strapping him up, and maybe it is the Sami Zayn thing that they go to maybe, something happens that costs him and further snaps him. So he really goes after his old friend and that's his next. I just don't think you can extinguish what you've done with Kevin Owens. Like, to go into that match, him lose clean, then where does he go from here? Like, why do we care about him? That's I think the peril that they face.
Yeah, and I think given the fact that all of the same things he's saying about Cody, you could literally copy and paste Sami Zayn's name in there as well, because it's like, okay, Sami also helped out Roman Reigns. Sami was also there, and Sami's also your friend. So yeah, like literally you can swap out Cody's name and put Sami in there. So I feel like all of that has just been something that I think you're right. I do think that we could circle back again to Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn, even though we've been there 100 times. It still feels, because they're so likable in so different ways, that the people are kind of like, we've kind of accepted the fact that they're going to be feuding forever for whatever reason. But it's so funny because I got so many people here that are like, yes, Kevin Owens. And then there's people that are like, no, I hate Kevin Owens. So it's kind of a mixture here of what we are experiencing. People are really sort of torn on this Kevin Owens, Cody Rhodes situation. Let's see what else we got here. We got Stephen Marchuli, who says, I wonder if champions get to float. That's like, there's still so many questions. I mean, they still have like pretty much an entire month to answer all of these questions. I feel like some champions, but then at the same time, not all, because again, you have your champions for a reason, and you have so many champions for a reason. If you're seeing so many of them float, I feel like at that point you're like, well, why do we got two women's champions? Why do we got two, big time champions and the world's heavyweight champion and the undisputed champion? Why do we got all of that, right? If they're going to be floating around. So I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, again, it feels a little Wild West-ish. It feels a little bit of Skeleton Key-esque. It's like in the Marvel movies, they got the multiverses now, where you can basically do anything because you got like the same character and living in different universes. So it just like nothing actually matters. I feel like it's WWE basically telling us that's what's going to happen for a little period of time, again, to serve the corporate overlords, the interest of the audience, the people that are paying the money for them to put on their product.
Yeah, essentially. We got David Primero here, who's a brand new DWO member. David, welcome to the group. Thank you so much. We got Bailey Darley here, who says, I feel bad for Bronson Reed because it's the second time he missed an important show because of the outside interference. So we need to get into this whole portion too. It's funny because I had it at the top of my notes, but with everything sort of, we got this SmackDown was kind of newsworthy, as you can tell. We had all this time to talk about the transfer window, but unfortunately, though, there were 3 injuries that were essentially, they informed us about here today. Some of which you already knew some of them just based off of what we saw. But 3 people though are pretty much out indefinitely until they return. One of them is Bronson Reed. Oh, I'm so bummed, Robin. Not Bronson Reed. Like, this was his year. But unfortunately, he's out with a broken foot, and he is going to have surgery next week. Tonga Loa is just had surgery, and it was a torn bicep. And then we have Jimmy Uso with a broken toe. Yeah, so those 3 people are out, and that all culminated at WarGames. So WarGames kind of cost them a lot. It cost them 3 people, which is a serious bummer, man, because these 3 people are all kind of part of big stuff. All of them, the bloodline stuff, but Bronson was, in this breakout point of his career. Tonga Loa being part of the bloodline, Jimmy Uso part of the, the original bloodline, and who knows what plans they had for him. So yeah, this is kind of like, you can tell some things are going to be derailed here.
Well, they put their bodies on the line in that match, and it was an excellent spot, the Bronson Reed spot, but it's also like, I mean, I hate to say it, kind of duh, that he's such a big guy. To be coming from that high, the chances of injury, the risk is enormous. Like if you're calculating that just in advance off.
It was the landing. Like, yeah. He was supposed to land on his stomach completely, but I guess it just happens. Like, we look at what happened to Adam Copeland. Like, when he did that spot off the steel cage, and he talked about it afterwards in an interview where he said that, like, he got up there, and once he got up there, like, the plans sort of changed. Like, I don't know how to explain it. Like, once you're up there and once you're in the air, your body just makes different decisions. I don't know.
Well, I mean, it's so when you fall forward, you put your hands out to brace yourself. You often break your wrist or your hand that way because that's the natural human instinct. When you're falling, your natural human instinct is to land on your feet. It's like if you're tripping, you don't like automatically go to your stomach, boom. Like you try to catch yourself on your feet. It's called a trip because you didn't catch yourself on your feet. So yes, in a sense, we've seen people execute super fly splashes from way back when off steel cages and the like, but there can be, it doesn't take much of a change in the physics dynamics to put yourself in peril, especially when you're as big as Bronson Reed is. Big Bronson Reed's right there in the name. And when there's paraphernalia like a table involved.
Yeah, man. I feel so bummed out for him. Like, seriously, I think, like, out of the three, obviously, it sucks for anybody to have that injury, but I think that this one's going to kind of derail Bronson Reed a little bit more just because, again, he was on the precipice of, something really going down for him. Somebody mentioned on Blue Sky, they were telling me, like, yeah, man, like, Bronson Reed, you knew he was going to have that really cool Royal Rumble spot where he takes out a bunch of guys, and then you got all the guys who try to take him down. Like, you knew that was going to be the Bronson Reed spot. So yes, this is definitely unfortunate for Bronson, Tangaloa, and Jimmy Uso. Wishing them all the very best. We got Sarah here who says, any advice for me going to the show next week? Oh, Sarah, which show are you going to next week? I'm assuming Saturday night's main event is the show you're probably referring to. If you're in the chat, just clarify so I can probably give better advice. But for the most part, any pro wrestling show, just go and have a good time. Honestly, like I've never, Robin, and I'm sure you can share the same thing, I've never had any like bad experiences with fans at shows. It's always so much fun. People go out there and they just have a good time, honestly.
Yeah, it's one of the coolest vibes that there is. It's one of the coolest energies that you'll ever see. And if you are referring to Saturday night's main event, it's going to be an interesting, that's a not, it's still an arena that holds events, but it's not one of the prime ones in the area anymore because Madison Square Garden has been renovated and Barclays Center is a relatively new building, and obviously MetLife is a stadium, and so on and so forth. The appeal of this there is the nostalgic aspect of it. I mean, it was, I think, the site of the first Saturday night's main event. That's why they're holding it in Long Island there, and that's an old building with it, or an old site at least with a character around it. So there's a little bit going to be that's going to be a side character in and of itself, the location, if that is indeed what she's talking about.
Yeah, either way, I hope you have a good time, Sarah, at whichever show that you're planning on attending. We got Terrence Johnson here who says, heel New Day and DIY. Am I in a bizarro world? Right? It does feel like a bizarre. Well, I'm cool. Like DIY, like, whatever. I don't care. It does feel like a bizarre world, though, when you think about the New Day being heels. Robin, you haven't had a chance to really share your thoughts on that. Of course, guys, if you want to check out my post show that I did with Santi, that is up here on the video version. If you just want to watch the podcast, and if you want to watch the watch along again, I don't know. But the stream portion is also there, so you can check it out in any portion that you want. But Robin, what was your reaction to that?
I think it was desperately needed. The New Day needed that badly. And they are now interesting. It'd been a long time since they were interesting. Basically, New Day was the entire purpose of New Day was for a house show. So you could go, New Day rocks, New Day rock. And then like, that's it. And now they're interesting. Like you care, you feel it. People felt a way about Big E. People feel, I think Kofi and Woods, they got a little edge to them. Now, Kofi did this whole nice guy, oh, look, it's Kofi thing for the longest time. And their careers just got extended. And the interest around, I think you probably saw it on your show, right? Like that was the main topic. When's the last time the New Day were the main topic? When Brock Lesnar squashed Kofi Kingston?
Oh my God, yes. Probably that was the last time, yeah.
So there you have it. I mean, I think it was well done, well executed, and needed. And I understand why it would take a long time to do because it is a hard thing to do because they're such a beloved faction, beloved group, and go over well with the kids and all that stuff. But it had to be done.
That's why it mattered even more because they spent so many years, being together and everybody, treasured all their memories and things like that. And the best part was that not very many people saw this happening. Like, not a lot of people saw them turning on Big E. So it was one of those things that really got people going, oh shit, they really went for it. And it's not every single day that, pro wrestling surprises you. So sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. But we got a very generous super chat here from Dan Aletska. Thank you so much to Dan. He says, I actually got angry when the Guns lost the titles, and I'm happy you didn't get affected by the earthquake. Thank you so much, Dan. On the real side of life things, there was a earthquake in Northern California. I'm of course in Southern California, so it was all good down here. But of course, as you guys know, we suffer from earthquakes here in California all the time, and it is very scary. So I'm glad that, for the most part, people are okay, especially because it was a pretty big one. I think it was one of the biggest ones that California has had, like, in a minute or two, because lately we've only been having like 5.0s, and those are pretty big too. Don't get me wrong. They're pretty awful, but we haven't had, that I know of, like a 7, anything above a 7 in a while. So that was very scary to see that news. But on the opposite side of things, on the fun side of things, in regards to the Motor City Machine Guns losing, you know what? This livens up that tag team division, Robin. It really does. We're talking about what this does for DIY. Motor City Machine Guns, now they got a chip on their shoulder, gives them a reason to, it gives them now a purpose on the show to be like, you know what? We got screwed. We won our titles back. What the hell? Like, what is this? And now they feel like they got a purpose now on the show, instead of the guys that just hopped in and we're happy to be here type guys.
And that was fast track too. Like, that happened quick. I was at the show where they won the titles. And it was like the first time I had seen them, right? Like, so that in WWE. So that was, it was kind of like oh, they're here, they get a vignette to come in. People are excited about them. Strap them up. But they didn't have to overcome anything to do it. You didn't really find out who they were if you weren't familiar with their work outside of WWE. So I think this is a chance to reset that a little bit too, and give them a bit of a purpose and something to overcome.
Yeah, I think reset is probably the best word for that, is like reset the Motor City Machine Guns, because again, they are new to a very, very large audience. Thank you so much, Dan, for the very kind super chat. We got Kevin Zwicker here who says, to answer my previous chat, Kevin Owens said, we will cross that bridge when we get there, when Sammy was brought up in his promo with Michael Cole. So yes, I do think you're right. I do think that they at least planted the seeds for this to sort of come up once again. And I feel like they had to. Like I said, plug in Sami Zayn's name on everything that, for the most part, that he has been saying into why he's been mad at Cody Rhodes.
And there, there's the bloodline history there with KO, obviously, too, which is why he would be mad. But that allows some ensemble work, if you will, in the lead up to WrestleMania. So, like, let's say it is Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn, whatever that is in that match. And obviously, that's not like headlining one of the two nights, but it could be a match that piques people's interest. I think in the build-up to that match, you could involve those guys with whatever else the bloodline is doing from a bigger picture standpoint.
Yeah, I think so too. Kind of like this, like,
Subplot.
Subplot. There you go. We got Steven Marchuli here who says, hot take, Bianca and the Profits will get a heel run as a faction. Dude, anything to liven up the Street Profits, man. But while we're here, while Steven mentions Bianca, we need to talk about that match with her and Piper Niven, because I was such a big fan of this match, Robin. I loved the chemistry with Piper and Bianca. I want to see this match again. I really do want to see like a full thought out program with Piper and Bianca, because I really liked what I saw. I thought they meshed very, very well. It got messy in some parts, but like good messy. And Bianca finally hitting that KOD on Piper Niven. We've seen Bianca hit the KOD on a bunch of impressive people. Piper Niven's another one of those. But the best part was that not only did she hit that KOD on Piper Niven, when she hit it, she made sure to land Piper's body right smack on poor Chelsea Green, who had gotten involved in this match. And Chelsea Green's legs are like wailing all over the place. This was great, man. I love the match. I loved what they did here with this whole entire thing.
Yeah, I mean, I think both women's matches were quite good for a SmackDown. And Bianca Belair just might be the most talented in-ring performer in the history of the women's division or women's wrestling. Like, just as a pure raw talent who is now a refined talent. I don't know if there's ever been anybody better at everything that she can do in there. She can do the athletic stuff. She can do the strength stuff. She's just got it all. I mean, Charlotte Flair maybe is the closest, I would say, but Bianca's different. She's got a bag that almost nobody can match.
Yeah, it's true. It really is true. Bailey Darley says, I'm actually surprised you're doing a video on Christmas. Don't be surprised. I was like, I do videos here all the dang time. No holiday is stopping me. But no, seriously, actually, speaking of which, Christmas Day is AEW, and Reg and I will be live on Christmas Day here talking about AEW. So not only will a video go up that day, but also there will be an actual Christmas Day podcast here because, hey man, pro wrestling does not stop, man, and we got to keep covering it. So we'll be here. So if anybody doesn't have any plans for Christmas Day, hey, come hang out with the California Connection. We'll be live that day. Thank you, Bailey. Thank you.
It's the life we live, right, Denise? Like where, you know what? I've gotten to the point like there's some beauty of it where it doesn't feel like, there's any more pressure on one day versus a different day, or like, oh, I got to enjoy it. But every day feels the same. Like, what's a holiday? What's a weekend?
My mom, Robin, is a principal, okay? And it's so funny because she'll talk about how, like, obviously her job is, very, very demanding, right? It's very demanding, but it's also very, she does get, Christmas vacation and summer vacation and holidays off. And it's so funny because the other day her and my sister, because my sister's in college, they were talking about like winter vacation, right? Christmas break. And I'm looking at them like, you lucky sons of bitches. Yeah. Like, I don't got no Christmas break. If I stop working, ain't nobody paying me. And if nobody's paying me, I can't afford my bills. So I do kind of miss those days, though, when I used to go to school and I used to have Christmas break and all of that. I'm so jealous. I'm so jealous of anybody who has that.
Well, going to school and stuff, it's like nothing. You don't do anything. I mean, if I go back and look back at that part of my life, I wish I had known it at the time, that I had zero responsibility and zero cares in the world, because who gives a shit? I didn't have to do anything. And then I've had various jobs, and obviously in the media field, so not always structured exact hours like somebody who works at a school or things that have federal holidays and the likes off would have. But I did at various points get used to a cadence of, oh, okay, I would usually have the weekends off or something like that. And in the self-sustaining lifestyle, it's every day, 7 days a week, 365, until you get big enough where you can hire everybody to do the little work and you just do the things that you so choose.
That's what I want to get to, Robin. I was actually on the phone today with Sean, and I was telling him this exact same thing because he was telling me like, oh, it's something that I should do. And I was just like, God dang it. I'm like, it's just every day. It's another thing that I got to do. And I'm just thinking, I need more help. I need more help at this point. And you know this, Robin, like you have your website and everything. It really is like media coverage, content creation is really like this full-time thing. But it's so funny too, because there's times where like my grandma will call me and she'll be like, oh, are you working today? She tells me, oh, it's some holiday, so the kids are off, so I figured you'd be off. And I'm like, no. I'm like, I didn't even know today was a holiday. I had no idea. Like, there's rare Monday holidays. No idea.
No, I was writing headlines at the Thanksgiving tables.
Yeah, literally. But hey, man, you gotta do what you gotta do at the end of the day. So we got Anthony Giuliano here who says, how are you doing, Denise and Robin? Did you guys buy anything from WWE Shop on Black Friday? I did, for all of the giveaways that I did, because I did giveaways the whole Thanksgiving week on Blue Sky and Twitter. What bums me out though? So WWE does this thing that is called fan cash, right? You've seen it, where you buy something, let's say you spend $20, they give you like 30 cents or something. So I bought all these things for like giveaways and stuff because and it's a pretty good amount, right? I got $1.35 in fan cash.
Oh, see, I did better than that. Well, one, I owe Josh from Miami a call back because he keeps calling me to ask me how my experience with the WWE Shop was. And Josh, I'll give you a call back at some point. I don't know how many voicemails you got to leave, but I will. Eventually, I'll call you back. I had bought my son a replica championship for his birthday. So, and like it's one of the most exciting things to buy because them things are hard. They're cool. And what they did do as part of that, I'm not even talking about the fan cash. They gave you Fanatics bonus bets. because obviously they're in tandem.
Oh,
So
is that the one where they give you like the $10 afterwards or something like
they
that?
gave me equivalent. So the money that I spent on the belt, they are or close to it, whatever it was. It was like in the hundreds of bonus bets if I signed up for Fanatics Sportsbook. So what I did was purchase the belt, sign up for Fanatics Sportsbook, immediately place all of that money on one bet, and I won. So the belt paid for itself.
Shut up.
Yeah.
And what did you bet on?
I forget, some random event like that night. As soon as I did it, I put it in the account in the Fanatics app, and then I picked something that night and bet all of it on that.
No. And it's funny because every time you buy stuff, right? And they give you like, oh, special deal on this.
Yeah.
I just click exit, 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 continue, continue. I'm like, this is
Yeah.
spam, whatever. And I never look at that stuff.
Yeah, no, because and Fanatics obviously working heavy with WWE. They got another Fanatics Fest coming up, but yeah, they at least at that promo. I don't know if they're still doing it, but if you signed up for their sports book, they gave you at least a portion or a large portion of that money in bonus bets.
Wow. I love stuff like that. That's great, man. I love hearing Black Friday deals because I love to save money. So Anthony Giuliano, to answer your question, there you have it. Thank you so much. We got Dan Jackson here who says, you think Jesse Ventura sides and helps Kevin Owens? That would be kind of hilarious. You think that will happen?
No, but there's rumblings of Hulk Hogan showing up.
Oh my God.
Would make for an interesting confrontation with Jesse Ventura.
Yeah, for sure. An interesting conversation overall. We got Anthony Giuliano here who says, wonder if they're going to bring in some new Samoans to replace the missing pieces until they come back. I'm pretty sure they are. Like, I think at this point, like I said, plans are changed. Things happen, like things move really fast in WWE. If something's out, like you bet your ass that they're like trying to think of what they got to do next to fix that.
No offense to Tama Tongaloa, but the Bronson Reed feels like it felt like they added something of substance when they got Bronson Reed, like another Jacob Fatu. It's like they had two Jacob Fatus in a sense, and that losing him was a blow. Like I was almost wondering if they were going to do something with Shinsuke Nakamura there for a second, but they, just had a little moment of, what's going on here? I'm backing away slowly. But yeah, I mean, that was a heavy addition that made the bloodline seem more formidable than they had before. Because Solo is basically the character lead and mouthpiece, and Fatu is the heavy. And outside of that, they didn't really have much oomph. And I think Bronson Reed brought a little bit of that, so where they could have that WarGames match and it didn't feel completely one-sided.
Yeah, I feel you on that. You did mention Shinsuke Nakamura. And so this was so one of the things that we were seeing throughout the entire show today was that the bloodline was sort of, they were pissed. They were angry. They were angry that they lost WarGames. And so they were doing all of these attacks. And one of the attacks that they did was in this United States Championship picture because the LA Knight's out there, Andrade's out there, Shinsuke Nakamura is out there. And they end up going out there and attacking everybody except Shinsuke Nakamura. He ends up, creeping them out, I guess, with his, mist coming out and the big emo makeup. And so they just kind of just stand there and let him walk away, which I kind of hated. But I'm like, all right, I get that he's not part of what they're going to do moving forward. But I don't like them backing away from anybody, especially Jacob Fatu. Jacob Fatu is a crazy motherfucker. Like, he's going to go in there and mess anybody up. But I get what they did here. But how'd you feel about this? Was this something that piqued your interest or because I kind of felt like this was too much where I didn't even care.
Well, I mean, I guess it's like, or how much they're trying to bury LA Knight. That would be one thing. Like,
yeah, he got beat.
A little rough for him. But I like this Shinsuke Nakamura thing, actually. Because if you're going to totally revamp Shinsuke Nakamura, bring him back as this menacing emo character, whatever you said, and have him win, then to just get him stomped out by the bloodline doesn't serve you. So I like the idea of them being a little like respectfully, all right, we're not going to kick your ass. And him being, he walked away from them like I once did the rattlesnake I saw in my backyard, right? Like, it's just like you walk away slowly. But the mist thing was, or whatever it was, if that was the mist, that was a cool touch. Him kind of biting that down and having it coming out of his mouth there. So I'm not saying I was blown away, but I get it. Because if you're going to try to legitimize Shinsuke Nakamura in that way, you don't want to extinguish it a week later.
But it was interesting, though, seeing the bloodline take out guys that are in this championship picture for the most part. You got your former champion in there, Andrade also, who's been, competing. It was a little bit weird, in my opinion. I thought, wow, if you're going to just come out and beat anybody up, I thought you'd beat somebody else that was not really, I guess you can say, as big of a deal on the show as these guys are.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the Andrade thing is what puts a little wrinkle on it. Because I can see LA Knight because he's so popular, and it's just like, let's get some heat back on this. Like we're still here to mean business. We're stomping out one of the most popular guys. But was there anything more to it than this was the random time to do it, and a whole bunch of things came together at the same time? Or was there, is there going to be another chapter to that where that was why? I'm thinking the former, that it just so happened they were trying to juggle the U.S. title picture with the bloodline, wanting to prove their superiority again. And that's just where they felt like they could do both at the same time. But maybe there'll be more.
I'm calling it right now. Jacob Fatu for U.S. champion. Mark my words, bookmark it.
Oh, that's good.
We got Sleaze Boy here with a very generous super chat. Thank you so much to Sleaze Boy. He says, prediction, Dom is going to betray Liv for Tiffany. Liv is going to get revenge by smooching with Dominic's dad and release footage of Dom cheating on Tiff with Charlotte Flair. Dom will help Charlotte win. So I'm with you in the beginning portion of this, maybe not the rest of it, but in the beginning, I did put out a predictions video a couple months ago on here where I did predict that Liv would break Dominic's heart, though. That's what I thought. I didn't think that Dom would betray Liv. I actually thought that Liv would be the one to be like, all right, I'm done with you, Dominic. You served your purpose. I'm over you. Toodaloo, bye-bye. That's what I thought.
Yeah, I mean, that's been going on for a long time now, and it probably does need a bit of, I mean, not like the DIY reset, but, because it's been one of their hotter storylines, but I think it's time for the next twist in that saga. I don't know if it will be exactly what's outlined here, but I'm interested to see what they do with it.
I guess it depends on what they want to do, right? If they want to keep Dom as a heel, they have Dom betray Liv. If they want to make Dom babyface, I think their best bet is having Liv break and stomp his heart, because then all of a sudden he will gain sympathy from the crowd for Liv having broken his heart. At least maybe we think he might get some sympathy out of that. So I guess it depends on the direction that they want to go. But Sleaze Boy, thank you so much for sending this in. We got Anthony Giuliano here who says, Robin, you didn't watch TNA back then, 2005 to 2013? Question mark. There is a lot of great matches and moments you missed if you didn't follow the product. Were you a TNA fan, Robin?
I watched TNA here and there. I think is he referencing the Motor City Machine Guns?
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah. Well, twofold. I won't say I was religiously following it. So I'm not gonna lie. But my point was, there are a lot of. It wasn't just a direct reference to me. It's a reference to the audience of SmackDown. There is a huge portion of, I would say, 95% of the audience probably was unaware of who the Motor City Machine Guns were. And that's my point as far as their WWE presence versus the presence of people in Denise Salcedo's Friday Night SmackDown chat are probably going to be more aware of the Motor City Machine Guns TNA run from 2005 to 2013 than the regular folk out there.
Did I ever reveal that high school Denise was really in love with Alex Shelley and Chris Sabin? Like, I just thought that they were so extremely handsome. And I'm like, not only are they talented, but they're so handsome. Oh, I used to be like all up on that, Anyways, no, it was so funny too, because Chris Sabin was actually one of the first wrestlers that I got to see perform live at PWG. So I was a big fan of that. And I actually got into TNA because of my boyfriend, now husband. He's the one who got me into TNA. I used to be completely anti-TNA. Like, I would not want to watch them. I would not want to give them a chance at all whatsoever. And he was the one that was like, you're missing out. It's really good, blah, blah, blah. And then back then, well, they still have FYE, the store in certain locations, but back then they had a few more. And so I remember I would go to FYE and buy DVDs because honestly, I wanted to impress my, now husband. I wanted to impress him. And I was saying, okay, I was thinking if he wants me to watch TNA, then I'm going to give it a chance. If he really likes it, I'm going to take his word for it. And so they kind of ended up winning me over, but I don't think I would have ever given TNA a chance had I not been persuaded to do so.
I think it's on brand for boyfriends to be pro TNA.
Really? Oh, Now it makes sense. Now it makes sense why he was all up on TNA. Oh my gosh. We thank you so much, Anthony Giuliano. We got Nell D who says thoughts on the report that Finn Balor is getting a push in 2025. I mean, I would hope so. Finn Balor's incredibly talented. I've been wanting to see the return of the demon.
Yeah, I mean, it feels almost like it's like they decided with a few of these guys, all right, now it's time. I mean, because it would be the same kind of boat as Nakamura, right? Like Balor and Nakamura are similar tier guys who have similar careers in the sense of they were respected outside of WWE and have been in WWE, but maybe never quite had that distinct. I mean, I think Finn's most distinct thing is the demon, probably the thing that like is most memorable, and kind of been toiling away a little bit. The Judgment Day helped him. It was a little bit of a, it gave him something to do, a purpose. And maybe now they realize with a couple of these guys, it's either now or never, we're going to give it a shot. So that would make sense. And you can almost see in the way he carried himself, like even the way he stomped out Damian Priest the other day, it does jive with that report. When I saw that report, I'm like, it makes sense because it felt like somebody who came out there and realized, all right, I got something coming ahead of me, right? Like I'm not just doing this to fill time.
They have to. They really do have to revamp Finn Balor. I think he's always been incredibly talented, but kind of got stuck in some situations that just weren't all of that appealing for him. And he's a cool guy, man. Like you look at him and he's somebody that you're like, hey, I want to be a fan of Finn Balor, especially as a demon. That was very, very cool. We got Terrence Johnson here who says kids get a fall break now. Didn't they always get a fall break? Yeah, it's a fall break. And then no. Kids go to school at fall. Thanksgiving break. Yeah, Thanksgiving break they get.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
I mean, they get a lot of breaks. They get like parent-teacher conferences. It's all these random days they get off.
Okay, so when I was in school, I used to do something so bad, right? Like the days that I didn't want to go to school, this was my lie that I used to tell my grandparents. I used to go to my grandparents and be like, I don't have school tomorrow. And they'd be like, really? Why? Like on a random Wednesday. They're like, it's no holiday. Why is there no school? I would literally come up with a lie. And I would say, it's because they're doing specialized testing, but it's only for this grade, whatever grade I wasn't in. So because of that, I got the day off. And my grandma would be like, oh, okay. And that was it. I would not go to school because I was so bad. I would lie like
what age?
High school. I would lie. Yeah.
In high school, you talked about FYE. I used to go to the record store every Tuesday in high school during one of my classes because I had this class that was just full of delinquents, and my
whole school.
My teacher just was so fed up with him that I had a prearranged deal with him. Like, look, I'm not going to cause you any issues, and he's just going to give me this grade, like A-. And so I would leave every Tuesday to go to the record store. But no, I don't remember ever doing that. I did have a wrestling related sort of fib kind of deal because that was the way I would get punished, was I wasn't allowed to watch Monday Night Raw. So I would record it on the VCR and put something in front of the VCR so that you couldn't see that it was recording. And then
that's smart.
Watch it later.
Damn, that's how we know we're old. VCRs, recording these shows.
I mean, people at record store, what the hell are you talking about?
Yes. Oh my God. I can't believe it. Those were the good old days, though. The good old days.
Well, that's why people complain about like streaming. I'm like, what are you talking about? It used to cost $20 for a CD. Now I get all music for $10 a month.
Literally. And then you would buy a CD and only like 3 songs were good. Yeah. And you were stuck with the CD. And then when it got scratched up on your freaking Walkman, you had to buy a new version of that CD. Oh, I miss my Walkman. That I would bring back. I love Walkmans. We got Kevin Zwicker here who says wrestling coverage is a 365-day job. Yeah, no, it really is, though. It really, really is. Thank you, Kevin. We got Anthony Giuliano here who says, fun fact, the first time I saw TNA, AJ Styles got my attention and been a fan ever since from 2006. I don't blame you, man. AJ Styles is a tremendous talent, and that's really where he made a name for himself. And that's why when he came into WWE, things went for him the way that they did because, he came in with that, that reputation that he had built off of TNA. Anthony, thank you so much. He also sends in another super chat saying, Denise, did you see Sonya complain about the Intercontinental title? I did not see that. Did she do that on social media? Because I did not see that. So I don't know if you're talking in kayfabe or what. But Anthony, thank you so much for the super chat. I'll keep an eye out here on the chat to see what people say. But we're almost towards the end of our show. And what we do really need to get into, though, really quickly is the Women's United States Championship Tournament. We officially have the 4 final women. On the left side of the bracket, it's going to be Bayley versus Chelsea Green. On the right side of the bracket, Michin versus Tiffany Stratton. So Robin, looking at this bracket right now, what are you thinking, man? Because I feel like it's not completely straightforward here. I don't think the answer is straightforward.
You don't. See this, the way that this shakes out lends me to think it's going to be Chelsea Green now. Because I had thought Naomi and Bayley would be the matchup for the finals if those 4 were part of it. But now that Tiffany Stratton is there, I mean, yeah, my pick is Chelsea Green. I'm going to go with Chelsea Green.
But do you see her in there with Michin or Tiffany? Because that's where I'm kind of torn. Because I'm thinking Michin, they could basically touch on the whole feud that they had with the dumpster and all of that. And Chelsea Green could get her revenge on Michin. And plus, like, Tiffany Stratton doesn't need to win because she has the briefcase, so she's good on that end. And it would be really massive if Michin were able to get this big victory over Tiffany Stratton.
That would be a big, yeah. I mean, if you're trying to elevate both at the same time, that makes sense. If you're really trying to elevate Chelsea Green, I could see like an obnoxious fest with her and Tiffany Stratton going in. But I think the ultimate point is with that briefcase, this is not something Tiffany Stratton needs. And to me, the person with the most upside for a win is Chelsea Green.
Yeah, I feel you. All right, so I'm going to go with Chelsea Green versus Michin in the finals, with Chelsea Green winning the entire thing. So let's see what happens, man. I hope they don't disappoint us on this, because I think a lot of people are anticipating that exact same thing. And Anthony says that she did so on Twitter. Did you see that, Robin?
Sonya Deville we're talking about?
Yeah, Sonya Deville.
Let me look it up.
Yeah, I did not see that, but I can't imagine that she did so in like a negative way. And maybe she did whatever she said. She probably said it in kayfabe. Bailey Darley here says, I forgot to say that the crowd was great for SmackDown. Yeah, honestly, a pretty good crowd that we had today. But it was also a really good show, though. Like, for the most part, every single thing on the show actually mattered here today. And we already went through everything, but everything was pretty good, like, overall. So I feel like that also made it easier for the crowd.
Look, I mean, for the most part, I know sometimes people are critical, but put on a good product week in and week out for the most part. I mean, and it's nice when it does feel coherent. It does feel like it's a story. It does feel like the long game. And when you can do an episode where, you know, the crowd was chanting, oh, but where was Roman? Where was Paul Heyman? Where was Punk? All that stuff that we had been most excited about was absent. They sort of shifted it a little bit.
They did. But here's the thing. Tomorrow, I am going to be here live, because tomorrow we have an NXT pay-per-view. Do not forget. People always forget the NXT PLEs. Do not forget the NXT PLE. It's the big one. It's the last one for the year, NXT Deadline. Tomorrow, I will be here doing a watch-along, so I'll be hanging out, reacting with everybody. I won't be doing a post-show tomorrow, only because I have a Christmas party to attend immediately after, and I'm already going to be late to begin with. So please make sure to tune in for the watch-along if you just want to hang out and stuff. But before we wrap things up, we actually got 2 more super chats, or rather this one. We got Anthony Giuliano here, who says that Sonya was complaining about Dakota Kai getting a spot after being injured 4 times, and Sonya's been there for fighting for a spot in the tournament. Okay, yeah, that's definitely kayfabe. Yeah, definitely in kayfabe. So good for her, though, because in a way she's trying to get her name out there, because she hasn't really been, you know, seen very much on TV. And unfortunately, the Pure Fusion collective, whatever they're called, hasn't necessarily gotten over just yet, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, I went and looked, and she even put, like, I'm going to get in trouble in quotes and stuff like that. So that was, I think, almost feels purposeful to not even on her part, on both of their parts, to do something with her around that.
Yeah, I think so too. Sometimes, hey man, you got to make shit happen, even if it's on your own on social media, because you may want to get the powers to be be like, hey, don't forget about me. I'm still here. Give me something to do. You never know. So I think that was just kind of her maybe taking matters into her own hands, or who knows, maybe that's a potential storyline that we're going to see eventually unfold on the TV side of things. But there you guys have it. That was our SmackDown show. Robin, please tell the people where they can check you out on all of the stuff that you do.
Yeah, Robin Lundberg over on YouTube, Women's Fast Break on SI. I'm covering women's basketball over there. I run that website. You can check out all my socials, of course. And I think you and I are doing Busted Open next Thursday together.
Oh, okay, good. I was wondering because they had said, "Oh, we're gonna look for you for a co-host," and I was like, "All right," and that was it. Like that was the last I heard of it. So yay! So tomorrow I'll be on, I think with Thunder Rosa, and then next week I'll be on with Robin on Thursday. Then I have the Saturday show, and then I think I'm also filling in on a Sunday. I don't know when, but it's happening. It's on the calendar somewhere. So yeah, a lot of shows coming up. Do not miss Robin and I next Thursday on Busted Open too. So that'll be very, very fun. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please do not forget to check out the WrestleMiss videos in case you guys forgot or haven't seen it yet. There are officially 6 videos that have gone up. I'm posting videos each and every single day here as part of a Christmas challenge. 31 videos in 31 days. 6 are up right now. One of them includes me and Robin, which we did Can You Guess the WWE Superstar, which was really fun. We had 5 wrestlers, gave each other 3 clues, and tried to guess, figure out who the other person was talking about. So you guys can go ahead and check that one out. And then if not, I will see you guys back here tomorrow for NXT Deadline Watch Along. And then again, this Monday, back with the Raw post show. Thank you guys so much. Have an awesome weekend. Catch you on the next one.
Yeah.